Hello and welcome back to the Excel tip videos. Today in this video, we will show you how to extract first, middle and last name from the text string using multiple methods in Microsoft Excel. This is a very common scenario and there is no particular inbuilt function in Excel which allows extracting first name, middle initial and last name from a cell that contains complete name. There are multiple methods of doing the same, and today we will show you using two different methods how to split the names into different cells. The most common way of storing names in Excel are first name, space, then middle initial if any, followed by space and then last name. Sometimes instead of spaces, comma is used for separations. So we move on to the first example and we'll start with the easiest way of extracting names from a cell into different cells. As you can see, there are few names in column A that we want to extract in column B, C and D as first name, middle initial and last name respectively. We will use here text to column feature which is used to separate the simple cell content as first name and last name into separate columns. This feature is located under Data tab in Data Tools category, and you can also use the keyboard shortcut Alt-D-E to access the text to column wizard. So we first select the range from A9 to A17 and then we press Alt-D-E. The moment we press keyboard shortcut, we get text to column wizard box. And now we need to follow three easy steps, and as you can see on top of the wizard box, we are at the first step. In the first step, we need to tell Excel that how our data is stored and formatted in Excel file. And as you can see, there are two options and we have to choose any of them to proceed further. The first option is best for if the data is separated by any punctuation characters, that is spaces, commas, tabs, etc. The second option can be used when the length of the content is fixed. But our data is not with the fixed length, so we'll continue with the first option and we'll click on the next. Now we are in the second step of this wizard box, and as we can see here, we need to set the delimiters which our data contains. There you can see few delimiters checkboxes, so either you can select these checkboxes or can mention delimiter in other checkbox if your data contains some other delimiters which are not listed here. You can select one or multiple delimiters if there are more than one delimiter in your data. For now, we click on space and uncheck the tab option, as spaces is used in our data to separate the names from each other. The moment we select space checkbox, data preview box shows that our data is going to be extracted in 3 columns. That means the maximum number of spaces used in the data are 2 times. So now we move on to the last step of text to column wizard, and as you can see, it is asking to confirm the type of data format in which we want to convert, which matches closely the preview data. Say if we have dates in range which we exactly want to convert into date format, we would select date in that case. But for now, as we have names in general format, so we'll continue with the general and then we'll go to destination and select the destination where you want to show the extracted columns, and we want it from B9, so we select B9 as destination cell. But note that if you do not specify a new destination cell reference, the extracted columns will replace the original data. Alright, now we are done with all 3 steps, so we click on finish to complete the text to column wizard. But the moment we click on finish, a warning message pops up and says there's already data here, do you want to replace it? However, we cannot see any data there in column B, then why this message is appearing? That is because the cell is formatted and Excel assumes that there's something in the range B9 to B17, which is why we have got this warning message. So we click on OK to continue with the warning message, and now you can see the names in column A have got split in multiple columns from B to D. And this is what we were looking for, right? But wait, have you noticed one thing? Look at the row number 11. Steve Smith does not have middle initial, but his last name has moved to middle name column. That is because text to column is only used to separate simple content into different cells based on their delimiters. And as there is only single space in his name, which got split only in next two cells. This is the only drawback this feature has. Now we move on to the second example, where we will use multiple functions together to get what we are looking for. This is the advanced technique of extracting first, middle and last names into different columns, and to do the same we have taken similar data in column H, and we are going to have names separated in three parts as first, middle and last names in column I, J and K respectively. But as we mentioned, this time we are going to use the combination of text functions which will help us to meet the desired output. This method takes little extra time initially, but later it makes life easy for everyone. And moreover, if you will keep on adding names to the list and every time you do not want to repeat the previous method, this is the best solution that can be considered to get the name split by first, middle and last name. You can put the formula in the cells, and the moment reference cells will be updated, names will be extracted automatically in specific columns where you have put the formulas. So we'll start with extracting the first name, which is going to be in column I. And extracting first name is very easy if your data is in first, middle and last name order. To extract the same, we will use left function along with find or search function. As we have learned in our basic functions and formula series, left function is used to extract leftmost characters from the string, and find or search function is used to return the position of search text in a string. So we type equal to followed by left function in cell I9 and hit tab to auto complete the function. In the first argument we select H9, then comma. Now we need to tell left function that how many characters we need to extract from this string. And as we cannot enter manual numbers for each cell individually every time, and as we can see spaces are used to separate the name, so we need to search the position of space, and to do the same either we can use find or search function. Both functions do the same thing, the only difference is find is a case sensitive function whereas search is not. Now we type search function in the second argument here, and then we hit tab to autocomplete. And as we need to search space position in this string, so we take single space in double quotations and then comma, and then we take H9 in which we need to search the first space position. We are skipping the last argument for now as we wanted to start looking from first character onwards only. We close the parenthesis for search function, and then we type -1 as we do not want function to return with space. So in order to exclude space, we have taken -1 here. So we close the parenthesis and now we hit enter. And here we go. Function extracted first name from H9 and returned in cell I9 with mayor. We'll evaluate this function later after having all the names in different columns. Okay. Now we move on to the J9 where we will extract middle name from H9, and here we'll use if function along with the text function. So we type equal to followed by if function, and then we hit tab to auto complete the function. Now we type lan, then we take H9 in the argument and close the parenthesis. Don't worry, we'll explain and evaluate the function at the end after having all the names in separate columns. Okay, now we enter and then len function followed by substitute function and hit tab to complete the function. We take h9 in the argument followed by comma, and then we put space in quotation marks and comma, then we enter empty text and close the parenthesis twice to complete substitute and len functions. After that, we check this logical condition whether it is greater than 1 or not. Now we move on to the second argument of if condition, and here we type trim and hit tab to autocomplete, then we type substitute again and open parenthesis. Once again we type substitute function, and now we take h9 then comma I9 followed by comma and then empty text and close the parenthesis. Then we enter comma and take K9, which is going to hold our last name, and once again we enter empty text and close the parenthesis to end this argument. Then again we close the parenthesis to end the trim function. Then in the third argument we enter empty text to be returned in case the condition gets false, and then we hit enter. The moment we hit enter, function return middle and last name together, that is Tom C. Bradley in this case. But this is not what we were looking for, right? Don't worry, we will look into this later. So now we move on to the next column in cell K9, where we will have last name Bradley. To extract the last name from column H, we will use trim along with write, substitute and repetition functions. So we start with equal to followed by trim and hit tab to autocomplete. Then we type write function and hit tab to autocomplete. Then we type substitute inside write function, and now we take h9 then comma, then we enter single space in quotation marks followed by comma. Now we enter a repeat function, rept, and we want to repeat single space 255 times, and then we close the parenthesis twice to end the repeat function and substitute function. Now we are back in the write function, and after putting comma we type 255 and close the parenthesis twice to end write and trim functions and hit enter. As soon as we hit enter, function returned Bradley in K9, but at the same time J9 also got changed and now shows only Tom C instead of Tom C. Bradley. How did it happen? Why did the cell J9 get updated after putting the formula in K9? To know more in details, let's execute all conditions one by one and understand how these combined formulas are functioning and returning to these values. So first we go to cell I9, where we have extracted first name from cell H9, and let's analyze the condition. To do the same, we press F2 to get into the edit mode. As you know, left is used to extract leftmost character or characters from the string, and H9 in first arguments refers to string. And if you look at the search function in the second argument, it is basically returning the position of space. So let's understand how. So we escape and we go to formulas tab, and under formulas auditing category we click on evaluate formula. And now let's evaluate. So we click on evaluate, and as we mentioned, H9 refers the string, original string, and then now we will jump into the second argument where we have used search function. So we evaluate this condition as well, and as you can see, first it is looking for space in the text Mayor Tom C. Bradley, and then we have subtracted 1 from the total position which it would be returning to. So to see that what position it returned, we evaluate the condition again, and here we go. we can see that the position of space is found by search function is 6, which is correct in this case. And then we subtracted 1 from it, as we mentioned earlier that we do not want the function to return along with space. So the final number which returned is 5. And we can see left function looked in the string Mayor Tomsey Bradley, and then we told to extract only 5 characters. So left extracts 5 leftmost characters from H9, and if you look at H9, the first 5 characters are Mayor, and the function returns same in cell I9. Okay, we'll evaluate how we extracted the middle initial later after analyzing the last name function. So we jump to column K in cell K9 and understand the functionality of customized functions used there to extract the last name. As we have learned in basic Excel function and formula series, right function is used to extract the rightmost characters from a string based on the number passed in the argument. And here, since the right, substitute and repetition functions are nested inside the trim function, which is basically used to remove all spaces from string except one single space between the words. So we'll check each of these formulas by separating them on the right side of this table to evaluate each condition. Alright, so first we'll learn what repetition function does. Repetition function is used to repeat the text as per numbers given in the argument. So to check, we type repetition function in cell L9, and then we tell it to repeat single space inside quotations to 255 times and hit enter. The moment we hit enter, we see nothing because right now the cell is containing formula, which is why we can't see any space there as of now. So to make that visible, we copy the function and then we press Alt E, which is a paste special command. Then we press V or select value and click on OK. As soon as we click on OK, we see nothing, but when we do double click or get into the edit mode, we can see the cursor is very far from the starting point, and when we type something, it starts from after long spaces, that is 256 characters of this cell. Anyway, we press escape key and come back to cell K9. Now we'll see what substitute function is doing here. So we type substitute function preceded by an equal to sign. Then we first take H9 followed by comma. In the second argument, we tell function to replace single space with 255 spaces, and as we have already replaced the single space here in L9 using repetition function, so we take this and then we hit enter. We can only see the first name Mayor in cell L10, and due to too many spaces the complete string is not visible. And if we do scroll right, let's go right, there we can see the rest names are coming. Alright, we go back. Now we go back to K9, and as you can see, both functions substitute and repetitions are nested inside right function, which is returning 255 characters from the right side of the value returned by the nested function. So to see what function is returning, we go to L11 and there we enter right function and hit tab to auto complete the function. We take L10 as first argument and then enter 255 to extract 255 characters from the right side of the value returned in cell L10, and then we hit enter. The moment we hit enter, we don't see anything in cell L11, but if you scroll to the right, there you will see text Bradley with too many spaces. And now we go to L12 and then type trim function, and we take L11 in the argument and hit enter. And here we go. function returned with Bradley, which is the last name of Mayor Tom C. Bradley. So we have learned that how we first replace single space with 255 spaces, then we replace each of single spaces in H9 with 255 spaces, and then we have extracted 255 rightmost characters from the value returned in cell L10, and after that we use trim function to remove the unwanted spaces, and finally it returned with the last name which we were looking for. Alright, till now we have learned and executed formulas that extract first name and last name, and now we'll learn how we have extracted middle initial from the full name. So we jump to cell J9 and we'll understand each of the condition and its functionality. As we can see that we have nested len, substitute and trim functions inside the if condition. Anyways, we'll analyze this formula in a similar way as we have analyzed formula to extract last name and first name. But before that, let's have a look at the condition one more time. As you can see, first if condition is testing whether the logical test for the total length of the text without spaces is greater than 1 or not. If it is greater than 1, it will execute this condition till here, else the function will return an empty text. Alright, we go to L9 and select range till L12 and then delete the conditions we have analyzed step by step to execute last name extractions. And then we come back to L9 and enter len function and hit tab to autocomplete, and then we take H9 and hit enter. Because of the format, it shows in the time format, so we'll select the entire column, right click, format cells, and here we select number, and then we do not want in decimal, so we click on OK. Alright, the function returned 19 as the total length including spaces of H9 string, and then we enter substitute function in L10 and we select H9 as text argument, then we tell function to replace space with an empty text in H9, and then we hit enter. Function returns full name but without any spaces in between. Then we go to L11 and once again we enter len function and tell function to get the length of L10 cell which has no spaces, and the function return 16 in this case. Then we go to L12 and enter substitute function once again and take H9 as text argument followed by comma, and this time in the second argument as old text we take I9 which has the first name, and then we tell function to replace the first name with empty text, and we close the parenthesis and hit enter. The moment we hit enter, function return Tom C. Bradley with leading space in the beginning. Alright, now we again enter substitute function in L13, and this time we take L12 in the first argument followed by comma, and in the second argument we select K9 which has last name, then after comma once again we enter empty text and close the parenthesis and hit enter. As soon as we hit enter, function return Tom C which is the middle initial but with an extra space in the beginning. To remove unwanted spaces, we have used trim function here, so we go to L14 and there we type trim function, and then we take L13 and hit enter, and here we go, we have got what we were looking for. So here we have got the middle initial from the complete name which is in H9. So if you see step by step, first we have extracted total length of this string which is 19, and then we have taken the length of this string without any space which is 16 in this case, and the logical test was whether the total length minus the text without any space is greater than 1 or not, it is true, because 19 minus 16 is equal to 3, which is greater than 1 in that case. So the function jumped into the second argument, which returned the middle initial, and the same we can see here in J9. So we copy all three arguments and we paste it till last. And here you can see we have got first name, middle name and last name in respective columns. But if you notice one thing here, this time we got Smith in last name, not in middle name. And in a similar way, we have got all the names separated in the required columns only. So the first name, Mayor Tom C. Bradley, has Mayor in first name, Tom C. has middle initial and Bradley's last name. Then David R. Jameson, Steve Smith. Steve Smith doesn't have any middle initial, so the first name is Steve and the last name is Smith, and it extracted correctly in the required columns. Well, this is how you can use customized functions and simple methods to extract the first name, middle initial and last name from cell that contains full name. If you like this video, don't forget to click on the subscribe button to get regular updates, and feel free to share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, etc. That's all for now. We hope you found this lesson informative. We shall meet again in our next lesson. Till then, happy learning and have a nice day.